Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Gwen from the Dr. Gwen International Inc. And I have a special guest with me today. This woman is dearly loved by me. I love her transparency. I just love everything she's about. And her name is Kimra Luna. And I am quite certain that you possibly have heard about her before. Now, let me just introduce Kimra so you know, for those of you who may not exactly know who she is, so you have an idea of who we are talking to. So Kimra is a personal branding and online business strategist. She helps freedom-seeking entrepreneurs to stand out online, captivate their audience's attention, and monetize their authentic brands online. Now, from a standing start in May 2014, she's grown her email list and combined social media followings, get this, to over 100,000 people. Online entrepreneurs widely regard her Facebook group, the Freedom Hackers, of which I'm a part, as one of the most supportive places on the internet. Kimra is the creator of the Be True Brand You program, her signature online program, which I'll talk about a little bit more and my involvement in that. And she has over 1,000 students currently enrolled in this program. So Kimra, welcome to the Dr. Gwen Inc. and to the podcast interview, which is going to be also a Facebook Live interview. And I'm so delighted to have you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for the introduction.
Awesome. So let's get started. The first question I really want to ask you, which is something that I'm sure a lot of people are curious about, is I know at first you have a story. You have a story, and the first time I saw you online, I thought, wow, I was magnetized by your story and how you got started. So I'm certain that you probably want to be able to share that a little bit with folks. So tell us, how did you get started?
Yeah, I've been an entrepreneur for quite a long time. My first business was actually when I was 18 years old. So I've always kind of had the entrepreneur mindset and things. But there were a lot of years where I did struggle. I did really well from like the age of 18 to like 22. And then when I had my first son, the economy crashed, and I ended up being having to live at my in-laws' house. We were on welfare, and, it was a really rough time for me. But during that same time, I spent a lot of my energy, reading business books, personal development books, growing myself spiritually, mentally, emotionally. And, finally we were able to get off of welfare after 4 years of feeling really just stuck and really trapped on it. Because it's kind of like, anybody that's ever been on welfare before knows like the struggle that it is to really finally get off of it completely. And we finally made it off welfare. And then I became a stay-at-home mom. Like, we got our first apartment together, we got a car, all this stuff. And I became the stay-at-home mom. And I had 2 little kids at this time. And I really just became bored. And so I asked my husband if we can get a computer. And he was like, okay, sure. We're going to have to spend all of our tax return to get the computer, but we can do that. And I get a computer, and then I start Googling, how to make money with a blog, how to make money online, how to, help people online. Like, I just started Googling things. And I wasn't super techie or super computer, knowledgeable or whatever. Like, I had a phone, but I was the person that, couldn't even figure out how to get my pictures on my phone on Facebook. I was not computer competent, at all, not techie at all. But I
can tell now.
Yeah, I'm a lot better now. I'm still not, I ain't doing computer coding or nothing like that. But I can at least run my business. And I started learning everything that I could. I learned everything I could about blogging, and it turned into a health and wellness mommy blog. I decided to blog about just all the stuff that I was interested in as a stay-at-home mom, and I shared all these recipes. I had like recipe books. I had all sorts of things that I created, you know, and I really just wanted people to raise their kids in a healthy way, and so I just shared all that sort of stuff, and my blog became popular really, really, really fast. And I think partly because at the time there wasn't a lot of blogs like mine. There was a lot of blogs that were like health and wellness blogs, but none of them really focused on like kids and like moms. And so I became popular very fast online. And then people started asking me, you know, like, how did you get this popularity? How were you able to, you know, grow your email list and grow your following and all that type of stuff? And it kind of evolved into what I do now, which is teaching people how to have personal brands and online businesses. And I had no clue it was going to evolve into that. It just kind of happened. And that's how all my businesses have ever happened. It's always just been like a natural progression. I've never really forced it in any way. And, you know, so that's kind of what led me to where I am now. So I went from, you know, being on welfare, you know, about 5 years ago, I was on welfare, and now I have, you know, multiple seven-figure business with thousands of students in my programs. I believe altogether I have about 5,000 students in my courses combined, and, you know, I have, you know, my email list, following has been able to just grow and grow online, and it's still, I still feel like I'm at my infancy of this business. There's still so much more to grow, and so much, you know, ways to have much more impact than I've even had now. But it's been pretty successful, and it feels really great to be able to create that for my children. And now I even have a third child too, so now I have 3 kids. But yeah, it's been really good to be able to provide them with the things that they really need.
Wow. What would you say your story would be one of rags to riches?
Most people would say that. You know, I mean, even when I was a kid, I was raised on welfare my whole life. You know, I was the kid that got made fun of because my clothes were stinky because we didn't have running water in our house to even wash laundry.
Right.
You know, so most people would say, yes, it's a rags to riches story. I would say it's a story of mindset and perseverance and commitment and dedication to serving people is really what the story is. You know, I've always been a person who just wants to help. Even when I was in high school, you know, my theater teacher, this is a really interesting story, but my theater teacher had us do a 2-minute skit or monologue. We got to choose whether we wanted to do a skit or monologue, and we had to act out what we wanted to be when we grew up. And I had a really hard time with wanting to be when I grew up because, for one, everybody told me I couldn't be anything because they were just like, oh, you don't have money to go to school to become, you know, an astrologer, or, you know, like you don't have money to go to school to study astronomy and become an astronaut. I was like, okay, so I can't do that. You don't have money to, people just kept telling me I didn't have the funds to do what I wanted to do when I grew up. So I decided to write a motivational speech. So I wrote this 2-minute little motivational speech, and I memorized the whole thing. I did it in front of my theater class, and afterwards the teacher asked the students, oh, well, what do you think Kimra wants to be when she grows up? And everybody said, Tony Robbins, and people said, oh, she wants to be Oprah, you know, and I was just like, who the hell is Tony Robbins? You know, I didn't know, he's the person that helps people, right? And I told my counselor at school, I said, you know, I want to be a person that helps people. And again, they told me, oh, there's no money in that. So, basically my whole childhood, they just defeated me on what I really wanted to be, which was someone that helps. That's all I've ever cared about. And even when I was, in high school, I was just I just want to help people. That's all I want to do.
Absolutely.
And now I'm able to do that, you know, and it's kind of amazing. I feel it's almost like that divine timing, you know, really happened where it's I needed to prepare myself mentally and emotionally, and I had to heal through a lot of trauma and things I went through. And then right when I was ready to start serving online, it just exploded and it became big because it was my time. It was my time to shine. And I think everybody kind of has that time when they just know okay, it's time to shine. And I just went for it. And actually, one of my favorite bands from high school called The Used, they have a song, and it says right in the song it's our time to shine. And so I always think about that song right when my business first started. That's what I was feeling at that time. It's this is my time. It's my time to get out there. It's my time to serve. It's my time to really, you know, put the pedal to the metal and just go for it. And yeah, I just did it, and there was no looking back. And even, I mean, I don't look back ever, you know, like it
Yeah,
just
completely.
past, like move forward, you know, and that's,
Right. And you've said quite a mouthful, and I just want to make sure that everybody gets the profundity of what you really just said, because, you know, I was busy here trying to take notes as you wrote. A couple of things that you outlined about how people made fun of you when you were younger. And you seem to have turned all of that around in a positive way to impact you. Also, you talked about your background and how you grew up. You didn't use your background and the way you grew up and your experience as an excuse to stay where you are. You continued to dream. You also talked about the mindset piece and how your business just evolved. And I want to say, you know, a lot of times when I talk to my coaching clients, the thing that they want to do is to get there now. They want to see the very end of the goal that they're trying to achieve. But what I hear you saying is your business just evolved. And if I think about my business too, I pretty much can say it's a process of evolution. When you start, you think you have an idea of where it's going to go, but as you're going, the pathway opens up and there's another channel that you can take naturally. So I just love that. And your ability, your love to help people, I guess that's the thing that attracted me to you most, that desire to want to be there to help people, to make a difference with people. And then, of course,
I do whatever it takes to make a difference. Like I get so committed to my students, and I feel like there's other people in the online space who, yeah, maybe they teach marketing or business and things like that, but I know for 100% fact that I have more commitment to my students than they do, and that's what makes me stand out. And yes, they have some commitment, but I know it's not at the capacity that I do it, and that I like my students come in and they tell me their goals, and I sit and I meditate with their goals. I make Pinterest boards, like visualizing like my students like achieving their dreams and achieving what they have set, with the goals that they have set for themselves. And, I don't know a lot of people who really do that. Maybe people do it with their private clients, but I do it with like all my students. I have thousands, so, it's one of those things where I like to take the time and I like to commit time to visualizing their success as well, because I honestly didn't know I was going to make a lot of money. Like, I had no clue. I was like, oh, if I could make a few $1,000s a month, that'd be cool. Maybe we could go on a vacation sometime. I didn't know that it was going to be in the 6 figures and then quickly 7 figures within the first year. I had absolutely no idea. I just knew I wanted to teach people things, show people things. And I was like, hey, I have all this knowledge in my head, and I want to show people this knowledge. I didn't know it was going to be so big. And the money isn't the core factor for me. I'm like, if I can help 500 people, and then those people each help 10 people, look how many people I've helped. And then those 10 people help 10 more people, and it really just makes this ripple effect. And that's why we're put on this planet. We're put on this planet to just put those little drops, those little seeds in people, and then it just blossoms, sprouts, and goes everywhere.
You completely speak my language. I love you. You just completely speak my language. Yes, that's why we're here on this planet. Every single human being has a purpose, and we need to find that purpose and to do it. So I love the fact that you went from the rags to riches, multi-million dollars, and you seem to believe, as well as I do, that it first starts in the mind. The money is just a manifestation of all the processes you've had to work through. You said you had to work through your spiritual path, your personal path, just a whole of you before you got there. And so that's the key thing I want people to understand, because one of the things I like to say is your success is more about who you have to become to get there. It's not that you're going to jump from A to B. Some people do, but it's who you have to become. In the process, you have to be transformed to get there. So thank you so much for highlighting that. I want to get down into the business part. How long have you been doing this business, Kimra?
My current business has been a little over 3 years.
Wow.
Before that, I had a blog for about a year.
Yeah.
And then before that, I dabbled in tons of other businesses. I had Etsy shops and I had other blogs. And I mean, I had all sorts of.
Right, right.
I'm
I
just,
love it.
I'm just a hustler. I can't do nothing about it. Like
I love
that's how I roll. Like it's natural for me. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. So I know now some people want to know the ins and outs of the online marketing. And of course, we're not going to be able to go through every single detail.
Mm-hmm.
In the online world, there are a lot of people who are out there. And in your experience, what would you say is the main thing why most people are not having success online?
I mean, I think there's probably a few things. One would be the fact that they haven't worked on their mindset. They haven't worked on their healing. They haven't let go of things from their past. They haven't let go of people who aren't serving them. So a lot of it more like the mindset and mental things they haven't worked on. You know, I was working on my mindset for 10 years before I got to where I am. That's not to say it's going to take 10 years of mindset work for people to have success. But for me personally, that was a journey that I had. You know, I had 3 kids during that time. You know, the births, like my first birth was traumatic, and then I had like a very healing birth. And like, I mean, so it's like there's all these things that were happening in between that time. But I feel a lot of it is the mindset work that they're not doing. And then the next thing is they're just not listening to their audience. They're not listening to what their audience truly, really wants. They're not focusing on what's really working. They're just throwing things at the wall and not saying like, oh, this person is doing this. That's working for them. Let's try that. If it doesn't work, try the next thing. But they're not really focused, though. They just like go from boom, 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 each other thing. But then they don't even analyze why something didn't work for them. And then it also depends on the niche that people are in, too. Some niches do really, really well, you know, doing like live streams or videos or webinars. Other niches do really, really well with like blogging and content and Instagram, you know. So finding what works for your niche is super, super, super important. But I'm a huge believer in just like listening to your audience. And when I started interviewing my audience, I asked them, you know, like, hey, where do you guys hang out the most? They're like, oh, on Facebook. I was like, I started a Facebook group then. And I already had Facebook groups before from other niches and just things I like, you know, just like hobbies, things that I liked personally. So I already had Facebook groups. So I was like, oh, I'll make a business Facebook group and see what happens. And, you know, it exploded, you know. So I just listened, you know, and that's really how I was able to create the programs I have, how I've been able to create all the courses I've ever created. And a lot of that came from working with one-on-one clients. I think a lot of people, they go online and they're just like, oh, I just want everything to be digital. I want to be like hands-off almost. And it doesn't really work to be completely hands-off. You need to have your hands in with the client so you really know what their true needs, wants, desires. You need to know what their dreams are. You need to know what they really want because you're a problem solver. That's what we do, especially if we're a service-based online entrepreneur. We're solving a person's problem. And we're helping them get from point A to point Z, the end result they want. And if we're not listening to them, we're not going to be able to get them there.
Right.
And another really, really big mistake is just visibility in general. There's so many people that are, you know, they're afraid to put a little bit of money in Facebook ads. And I say to that, I say, you know, like if your face isn't in front of other human beings, how do they even know you have a product or service? Like you're not speaking to another person, and that's whether you speak to people in person. I'm like, why are you when you're in line at Starbucks, why are you not telling these people what you do? You know, like there's other human beings all around you everywhere. It doesn't even necessarily have to be just online.
Right.
You know, if I'm, you know, at like a networking event or something here and I tell people what I do, they're like, oh my gosh, I know so-and-so needs this. Oh, do you do consulting for this? Do you do this? Like they're immediately asking me. And so I'm like, it's not like I'm like some master at pitching to people or something because I'm not even pitching to them. I just tell them, oh yeah, I help people with personal brands. I teach them how to grow their businesses online. And they're like, wow, it's really cool. Like they want to work with me. And I'm just like, oh, okay, like here's my card, like what's your phone number, you know? Like, you know, they want to work with me. And it doesn't take a lot to find clients. It really doesn't. It just takes telling people what you do and being like, oh, do you know someone that is looking for something like this?
Okay.
Literally 5 sentences can get a client, you know, like you don't have to sit and do all these fancy client calls and try to convert them to all these things. I've never done a call like that ever, and I can get private clients like that. So
Right.
it's you just tell people what you do and just be like, this is what I do, this is what I serve. Like, is that something that you or somebody you know or is interested in that? You know, maybe they'll tell you, maybe they'll say, oh, no, I'm not interested. So what? Talk to another person. There's billions of people on the planet, you know, like there's always another human being to talk to let them know about your service. So it's just that visibility, just going out there, believing in your skill, believing in your talent, your gifts, what you have been given. You have these things. You need to tell people, hey, this is what I do, and just tell them. Because if you're not telling people, no one knows. You're like basically invisible. You know, you're invisible. That's the opposite of being visible, right? Invisible.
Right.
You know? It's like if you're invisible, like nobody knows you exist. They don't know about your product, services, your website. They don't know nothing about you. So you have to get out there, be visible, and you have to invest in being visible. You know, if you open up a restaurant right now, you would be probably $500,000 in debt by the time the doors even open.
That's true.
You know? And then all these people, they're complaining that I'm like, hey, spend $200 on Facebook ads, and people are like all complaining about it. I'm just like, I'm not asking you to find investors that are going to give you hundreds of thousands of dollars to put into Facebook ads. I'm telling you to just spend some of your own money and put it into there and then see what happens. You know, like it's like people ask like I'm gonna like do something, you know, to them like, oh, like, that's so scary. I'm just like, but how is your message ever going to get out there? What are you doing? You're just, you know, if you're not talking to people one-on-one in person and you really want to do something like, oh, it has to be online, then you need to invest in certain things to have it online, whether that's investing in courses to learn and educate yourself, whether it's investing in a coach to educate yourself, whether that's investing in putting some money into some advertisement or into YouTube ads or buying a new camera so you can make great YouTube videos. You have to invest. You know, people that build brick and mortar businesses, they have to invest a freaking ton of money, and they are in huge debt. I talk to that local businesses, and I can't believe the immense amount of debt they're in. And I'm glad I'm not in that debt like that, you know, because online it's a lot easier. It is a faster way, but you still do have to invest. It takes money to make money, and that is just the truth. And if you don't have a job right now, go get a freaking job. You know, like go get a job and have some money to start investing in your business and in your company that you want to start.
Or sell something, you know.
Sell everything in your house. Whatever it is that you got to do, you know, like.
Because a business definitely requires some investment. And certainly the online marketing space is almost a low-hanging fruit because you don't need hundreds of thousands of dollars to get started. You can literally get started with a few dollars in your pocket.
Yes.
I've heard that started with almost nothing. And you got to beat the pavement to.
There's people on Instagram who don't even have websites. All they have on their Instagram is a PayPal thing, and people just pay them directly through the PayPal link.
Right. So there really is no excuse.
And they literally just chat with people on Instagram all day and find clients. Like they don't have a website, like nothing. So I'm like, there's no excuse to like not be making money. You just need to open your mouth and talk to the other person. When I had my, I had a spiritual based business before, and I was a stay-at-home mom, and I wasn't even like trying that hard with this business, right? I would just be like, oh hey, like I'll do a reading for you, and send me a Facebook message, whatever. I made like $12,000 in a year just off of that.
Right.
And I didn't have a website or nothing, so that's why I tell people all the time. I'm like, I wasn't even trying that hard, and I did well, like. Making any money online is more than what most people make. Even if you make one sale, you've already made more than most other people that try and start an online business. One sale.
I think a lot of people come into the online marketing space not fully understanding what it is. I know for me, when I entered, that was my experience. I had come in, I had a lot of training, which is going to bring us back to your commitment to your students. I had a lot of training, a lot of good online presence, but there was something that I feel that was lacking, which is when I found you. And my brand just completely took on a different flavor once I found you. And I was able to become a part of the program. That whole process, and I can truly say that you there are only two people I've seen in my whole online experience that puts that effort as you do. And I've had hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of training in businesses and in the online space prior to this. So I can truly say there are just two people that I see that really are a part of their community. So I really appreciate you for that. And I also appreciate you for sharing about, you know, why so many people are not successful online. They really need to go out and find what their clients want and talk to their clients, reach out to their clients. It doesn't have to start online. It could start in the coffee shop or somewhere. So that's really great. You talked about a niche, that a certain niche is not doing so well. Do you know of any niche that you think would absolutely not thrive in the online space?
I mean, I think anything can thrive online. It's just where online. You know, like there's certain brands that Facebook might not be the hottest thing for them, you know, especially if they have a teenager demographic, because not a lot of teenagers are using Facebook right now. They're using a lot more Snapchats and Instagram, you know, so you do have to look into the demographics of where you're going to be spending your time. There's some that are going to hit every demographic, like YouTube. That's going to hit everybody because everybody Googles. You know, it doesn't matter what age. I mean, from the time they're my 5-year-old is Googling, you know, so it's like from 5-year-olds to, you know, 85-year-olds, there's people who are using Google and they're going to find your content. So something like YouTube or, you know, even writing just great articles that people can find doing a Google search, that's always going to work no matter what niche you're in. But, you know, there's certain ones that, you know, might not necessarily work on Facebook or might not necessarily work on, you know, Instagram or things like that. You know, for Instagram, selling physical products is really strong right now. You know, I buy a lot of stuff from Instagram. Like Instagram, it sells me, you know, like I'm just like, I need to buy this like right now, you know, like, and I have to restrain myself often. But I am an Instagram buyer. Like I am a person, I will shop on Instagram, you know, like I'm like, oh, look at this cool thing, you know. And so there's certain people that I know for sure shop a lot on Instagram. And right now, Instagram is becoming a really big marketplace. It's becoming even as competitive as Facebook right now. So, you know, there's certain demographics that fit better on certain things and certain products that work better on certain things. Instagram is definitely more of a physical product place. There's not a lot of people I know who are like in my type of industry teaching a lot of marketing and stuff that are doing super, super well on Instagram, unless they're like maybe teaching how to use Instagram. But most of them tend to lean more into Facebook, and that seems to be much better for a lot of people in my particular industry. You know, health and wellness does really, really well on Instagram. Spiritual-based businesses do really well on Instagram. Pinterest, spiritual-based business and health and wellness businesses do really well on those as well. So it's finding those platforms and figuring out what is trending on those platforms and then utilizing those platforms if it fits like what you're going to be selling.
Great. Awesome. So would you say that there is a systematic way to starting an online business? Is there a process, a sequence to getting it started? And if so, what would that sequence look like?
I mean, it depends on what the product is going to be, but sometimes we don't really know what the product is going to be at all, which is always connecting with the ideal customer, like I spoke about earlier, and finding out what they need and what they want, what the product is. There's a lot of testing that has to go into place with products. I highly recommend my friend Pat Flynn. He has a book called Will It Fly? Yeah, it's a really great book.
It really is.
It has a little course, a free course that goes with it online. And it's really good when it comes to like testing your idea because I think a lot of people forget that process. They literally just like, I have this product, and then they try to figure out how to market it when I'm like, but wait, nobody wants to buy this. Like this thing, nobody's buying it, you know, like you're not getting it in front of people, so you don't know for sure if people are really going to buy it or not, so you need to test. That's always the first step is really testing if you're going to even like your product or not. Like even when I first sold my Beat Your Brand You program, I was about 3 months into business. I've been growing my list, and my list was maybe about 2,000 at the time. So I've been growing my list, doing all these webinars. And when I first sold my Beat Your Brand You program, I hadn't even created the program. I just made a sales page that was like, this is what the program is going to be about. And people were buying it, so I was like, oh, I guess I have to make the program now. So I literally tested it to see if people wanted to buy it. And I think that people, they need to have the patience and grow an audience a little bit and then test what the product is going to be. Because not every single product is going to be a hit. I've had courses that nobody bought at all. I have one course on my website. I'm like, I don't know why the hell people are buying this course. And this course is awesome. And it's one of, there's like 8 other courses on there, but there's one that people don't really tend to buy a lot of. Mm-hmm. So I need to figure out, oh, should I market that more and test it out some more and see if more people are going to buy it, or should I just scrap it completely? That's part of business. Sometimes there's a product to make a complete flop. I had a friend who he makes over like $10 million a year in his online business, and he had a course that he just launched, and it completely flopped. And he's like, guess I'm scratching that one. I'm like, that did not work at all, And yeah. So sometimes things don't hit even after you have success. You might put out a product and like nobody really wants it, or you didn't test it well enough to see if people really did want it. So you have to always make sure you're testing, and finding what the ideal customer is.
Right. So testing is the number one thing. And then what would you say would be the next process once you step?
Growing an audience to have people to sell to. Just finding that way to grow an audience. And, of course, having a nice website and all those things that come into place. But you do have to grow a following. And there's a lot of people who, they'll start growing their YouTube channels and things for like quite a while. Then they'll make their website, and then they get all those people to go to their website. So there's no real right order to it. Like I said, I had a pretty successful business. I would make a bunch of money and a bunch of sales before I even had a website. And this is like years ago. This is like 2011, 2012, like years ago, because I didn't even know how to make a website. I was just like, I don't know how to make a website, but I know how to send people my PayPal thing. You know what I mean? So there's not an exact right order. I would have to be talking to the person individually and see where they're at, where their budget is, what their experience is like in that particular industry. If they're looking to pivot or something, or if they're like, hey, I'm just trying to leave my corporate job. I don't care what business it is. I need to make a business. I'm more of a person who I want to help people that are very service driven, who have a real passion for what they do, because I feel like having that passion behind it helps it keep going when times are tough.
Yes.
That why you really care about helping those people, that keeps your business going. Because if I didn't have my why, I probably would have quit my business a long time ago, because it's like something bad happens, websites crash, I'm screw this crap. I'm so mad, I don't even want to deal with this. Which sometimes I have felt that way. I'm just closing down the business. I'm just done. But then I'm like, wait, that's really stupid. I should not do that. But so there's, when you have that why, it makes you realize, I am serving people, I'm helping people, and I want to keep doing that. Let's figure out how to do this better and how we can, make this a better experience for everybody involved.
So we've talked about a number of different steps, probably maybe 2 or 3. If you were to say to someone, if you want to almost guarantee, because I don't think we can guarantee anything, but if you want to avoid failure at all, this is the single most important thing you have to do. What would that be?
To keep failing, to fail and fail and fail and fail and fail and fail 1,000 times. Because you can't really avoid failure. It's impossible. It's literally impossible.
That's beautiful.
We must have contrast in order to grow, in order to learn. We don't learn. If every single thing was happy-go-lucky all the time, you would never be growing or learning. You'd be bored out of your mind. We, even just as a society, we need that contrast. It is an important part. It's an important element. And I have failed so many times. I have failed and been a disappointment to people more times than I would even want to even admit. And I've been a complete failure, and that's why I succeed. I'm not afraid to fail. I'm not afraid. I'm just like, you know what? Putting this out there. If it sucks, it sucks. Oh well. I'm just gonna have to move forward if it sucks. But if it's great, awesome. So it's keep failing and not be afraid of that failure, because the failure is gonna come no matter what. No matter what, you will fail.
Right. So I guess maybe I need to rephrase that question a little bit. What I'm thinking is, I was actually thinking of the quality persistence, like keeping at it even when the times are challenging.
Yes, there will be a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
You got to build that grit. It's like this entrepreneurial grit that a lot of people talk about. I mean, there's even some books, I think, like business books, like written specifically about grit. And I know that people like myself who had a traumatic childhood, who were abused, I was molested, I was raped, I had every horrendous thing you could possibly think of happened to me. And so I have this grit. And it's something that is very beneficial to me as an entrepreneur, and to have grit. And there's some people who are like, well, what happens if I live this happy-go-lucky life and my childhood was all super happy and everything? How do I build grit? And that's allowing yourself to fail. That's how you build the grit. Because every time something flops, you're like, okay, back to square one. Let's figure this out. Let's make it work. How can we make this better next time? And just growing and growing and growing constantly. You know, I've seen people who you have literally said, like, I don't think I could be successful because I don't have the grit. And I say, not everybody's meant to be an entrepreneur. That's just a fact. We still need employees. You know, I'm an entrepreneur. I hire employees. We still need employees. You know, like that's still part of this world. Not every single person can be an entrepreneur, you know? And so, yes, I believe there's some people that they'll never have success as an entrepreneur. And I know that. Like, not every single person is cut out for this. It is a very tough thing to do. It's not for, you know, the timid-hearted. You know, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of perseverance. It takes a lot of grit. It takes a lot of wanting to learn. I know people who were just like, Kimra, I would never want to do what you do. I even have people on my team who are like, Kimra, I see what you do, and I would not even want to have a business like how you have a business.
Wow, really?
How much work it is. And so it's really, you know, like to me, and I have other friends where I see their businesses, and I'm like, I don't want my business to be that big. Where they have like 100 employees, I'm just like, no thanks. You know, like that's not my dream, you know. So there's different levels of everything. You know, I have a certain level of entrepreneurship that I like and I feel like I can stay comfortable with and be in that space and feel great about, you know, the impact I'm having in the world. You know, but I don't know if I want my company to be as big as Tony Robbins' company. You know what I mean? Like, like that's a lot. I mean, it might happen naturally, and then I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'm in it, you know. But it wouldn't be like my end goal to like be like that big of business. You know, to me, if I could just do like $5 million a year, help, you know, thousands of people every single year, I'd be settled there. You know what I mean? Like I don't need like tons. I just want to be able to serve. And I know if I'm making insane amounts of money, it means I have insane amounts of students, and that means I want to serve. You know, so I kind of know like where that balance is for me. But not everybody's cut out to be an entrepreneur. Some people are better as a support to an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
You know, like entrepreneurs, we need sidekicks too. You know, like we need people that are like on our team, like help me create this content, help me write this copy, help me do this, like make this work for me. Like we need those people. And yes, a lot of them can work as a freelance basis and not be like technically an employee. But I do feel that you still need people that are going to be great, awesome employees. And now a lot of companies, they're hiring people who have entrepreneur mindset. Like they want people, they're okay with people switching jobs a lot. Like it doesn't look bad on the resume anymore. Now it looks like, oh, you have experience there, that company, and that company, and that company. That means you can utilize all that experience and put it into our company. You know, so there's like employers are seeing things in a very different way. And myself as an employer, I look for people who do have that innovation, who want to grow and learn and educate themselves. And you know, one team member, she's always learning. She's always wanting more courses. She's always wanting to learn more material. She wants to be like the best for my team. And those people are people we need. And so you don't have to just be an entrepreneur. I think everybody has their own kind of career path. And I feel like entrepreneurship is for some people, and then being an employee is for other people. But it doesn't mean you have to have a crappy job. It means you can find a great job, you know, that you love and that fulfills your passion. You know, I have friends who work for nonprofit organizations that fills their passion and that fills their heart and their soul. And they don't want to be an entrepreneur. They have no desire to do it. They're just like, you know what, this fills my heart. And so that's why I do that. And
So,
so
yeah.
it's always about the heart and the service, and just be that in the world, no matter who you're working for, or if you have your own business or not.
Yes, and so once again, I hear you again resonating with just my pure belief that you just have to be you. You have to be able to understand who you are and what you love and go with what you love. Don't try to copy and be someone else in the space, because that would be a sure way for failure.
Oh yeah,
And yeah, just be you. And
like,
it's like you saying, be true brand you.
yes, it's you as a person. And we now live in a world where people want to buy from you. They don't want to buy from these gigantic corporations if they don't have to. You know, yes, of course we buy our iPhones and things because, like, where else are we going to get our phone at? You know what I mean? But you know, we buy from big corporations certain things, but most things, like, I like to buy from, like, people that make it independently or from smaller companies. And I'm a big Etsy buyer. Like, I love buying things that are, like, handmade and you know, from really, like, small companies and stuff. And I like to support that type of thing. And I think that's how people are now. Like, people really, they just want to help each other. And I know it's really big here in New York. Like, in New York, people really buy local here. You know, they, like, from local, you know, fashion stores and, like, you know, boutiques, and you know, people love to buy local. And so I think that's really kind of a cool thing about New York City. It's like, hey, you can, like, it's like, oh yeah, I got these earrings. This chick in Brooklyn makes them. Oh yeah, I got these tights. Oh, the chick in Brooklyn makes them. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you know, so it's really cool that people buy from people now, and that's why it's important to, you know, be yourself.
To be yourself, absolutely.
And people will want to come to you.
Awesome. So what are the three, if you were to summarize all we've talked about, what would be the three main keys to success in everything we've said?
I mean, definitely the focusing on the ideal customer. I would say that's pretty much the biggest key. Working on your mindset and being okay with the failures that are inevitably going to happen. You can't avoid them. There's no such thing as perfection. You really have to just not be a perfectionist. If you're a perfectionist, being an entrepreneur might not work so well for you because nothing is ever perfect. Right. Trying to think of another thing. Well, and I think just following what you care about. And myself, it's like I have my Freedom Hackers brand, but I'm even, like, opening up a new brand that's kind of showing things that are another side of me, because I want to be fully out there. You know?
I want to get to that.
I'm partially out there right now, and I want to be fully out there. And because before I had this, I had a mommy blog, and now I want to talk to parents and women in a different way. So I feel like it's about following those passions and keep doing it. You know, you're even if you have a business, it doesn't mean it's going to be your only business forever. Absolutely. You know, you're probably going to have like 10, 15, 20 businesses by the time I die. You know, so you know.
The sheer importance of being open and flexible. Now, so to summarize your three things is, number one, know who your customers are. Number two, be aware of your mindset. And would you also say that a coach or a mentor is a good person to have in your corner?
Yeah, it is.
For the mindset.
They're not all created equal, but
they're not.
It's good to have somebody who at least is supportive. You know, the people that are around you, you need to surround yourself with supportive people. And if people aren't supportive, you need to just stop talking to them about your business.
Right.
You know, like some people, maybe it's a family member or somebody who isn't very supportive, and you can't necessarily just boot them out of your life. You know, at Thanksgiving, don't mention your business to them. Talk about other topics, you know, because you don't want people discouraging you, and that's
absolutely. And then the third thing is just be who you are. Be true to yourself. Fulfill your passions. Don't try to be someone else. Yeah. Now, you did touch a little bit about where you're going next, and I just want to spend a couple minutes just talking about that. That I know you've put out some stuff online about some new areas that are new waters you're going to be treading in. Can you give us a little bit of insight about that?
Yeah, so I started a new blog called Sacred Mama. And right now I don't even have a website up for it. Like literally that's like how new it is. And so I started this new blog called Sacred Mama, and it's really just about starting these conscious conversations around how we raise this next generation of children. You know, I feel like we've kind of raised a generation of a lot of bullies, a lot of kids just, I mean, sometimes the way I see some kids and how they interact with their parents, it's just a really odd relationship that I see, and I really want to be able to help parents have good relationships with their kids and be able to teach their kids things and you know, like raise them in a way where the kids have an awareness of what is actually going on in the world, rather than just like these kids that get so like narrow-minded and narrow-focused on things. And then another thing too is because I experienced immense amount of trauma growing up. I definitely have all the symptoms of PTSD. I've been working through that for years and years. And you know, they don't have any types of parenting tools or tips out there like how to parent when you have PTSD. You know, I'll see these tips online. I'm like, that doesn't work if you have PTSD or if you have depression or if you have, you know, severe anxiety. Like
gosh, I'm telling you, yeah,
don't work. You know, and I've been there, done that while I'm healing through all these things. I feel I have a lot of just guidance that I've learned from just personal experience. Like I'm not going to call myself some like parenting guru or something, but I have things that have worked for me and my kids and my family, so that I am able to have a strong connection with my kids. Even though, yes, I do work a lot, and I'm still able to have a strong connection with them. I'm still able to teach them about things that are happening in the world in a conscious way. You know, I'm still able to have conversations with them that might be tough conversations that a lot of parents don't have with their kids. You know, like, I mean, even now, like my oldest son, he's 8. And, you know, the average age that kids see pornography is 8 currently, you know, and why are people not talking about this type of stuff online? Like, how do we teach them how to have good sexual health and have a good sexual mindset, even though they're little? You know, like, how do we start explaining these things to our kids? Because we live in a very different digital world than what even parents that are 10 years older than me. It's a completely different world because of technology, and I want to raise my kids in mindful ways. You know, I want them to know it doesn't matter how many Instagram likes you have. There's kids killing themselves because they didn't get enough Instagram likes. You know, like they're getting so obsessed inside of these social medias, and how do we help them, you know, navigate this new world and still have that self-confidence, still love themselves as a person, and be able to express that and be okay expressing that rather than being hidden? How do we teach them how to express their feelings and their emotions in a great way? How do we help them balance their masculinity and their femininity? You know, my son, he watches this YouTuber. His name's Dan TDM. This guy has like 11 million followers, maybe 14 million, I think now. The follower count is just crazy, this guy. And he plays Minecraft. He plays video games, like, and everything's kid friendly. He's a super, super great role model. And this guy, Dan TDM, his dog passed away. And he made a video where, I mean, he was crying. The guy's sobbing in this video, you know, and he's like, you know, a 30-year-old guy or 29-year-old guy. And the fact that these boys were able to see that it's okay for a man to express themselves that way. I mean, it was so powerful. I was crying. My son comes up to me and told me he was crying, you know, and I feel like we need to start allowing our kids to have these feelings, but and show them to express feelings in a healthy way. And with Sacred Mama, I want to start bringing these conversations out to the forefront. I'm going to be interviewing all sorts of different types of experts to talk about these topics, because my kids are growing up in this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I need to hurry up and like make sure like I'm able to like keep them on track, you know? Like I want to raise very conscious masculine boys who are treating women respectfully, who are, you know, treating other people of different race and nationalities respectfully. Like, I want them to understand things that are going on in the world.
Absolutely. I could definitely see a need for that. And I could see you having those conversations. Absolutely. And the generation today, they are really more conscious than even in my generation. They're very conscious.
We have all these things that we see what's going on, you know.
Yeah.
And
they're more alert.
Almost overexposed, you know, and so how do we help them decipher that information and really, you know, come from that place of compassion and love and help them understand their feelings.
With the experiences that I have spanning the decades, I don't necessarily believe in a lot of ways that kids were raised back then. Mm-hmm. And I believe the consciousness really needs to be raised. Kids need to understand who they are on a deeper level. They need to be taught how to connect with themselves internally, because there are a lot of wisdom and wonderful power that comes from connecting within. So yes, so that's a conversation I believe that you will get a lot of following for. And, you know, just continue to use those conversations. I see you using life events, teaching your kids. That's so powerful. You know, that's just exactly the way to do it, because there's so many experiences and lessons in life right in front of them that I see you using to have that conversation. So I know we've been on here a while.
Yeah.
I really thank you. Is there any last moment thing that you want to say, and how would people be able to contact you? Where would you want them to reach out to find you?
Yeah, the last thing I want to say is anybody watching this, like, I just want you to know that you can make a difference in the world and make a difference in your own life at the same time. I think a lot of people think like, oh, if I'm like helping and serving, like, you know, I shouldn't be asking for so much money for that, or you know, they get like this weird thing with money. And the thing is we're meant to have a good roof over our heads. We're meant to live more above average.
Absolutely.
So, and if you're watching this, that's something that you deserve. Like, you were attracted to this interview for a reason, and you deserve to have an above average life. And next, of course, for people to find me, some of the best places is my Freedom Hackers Facebook group. If you head over to Facebook and just search Freedom Hackers Mastermind, you'll be able to find my group. Also, my business page, I share a lot of content on my Facebook business page, which is facebook.com/Freedom Hackers. You'll be able to see all sorts of live streams, webinars, all sorts of content is all pretty much pushed on there. And then, of course, if you're interested in my Sacred Mama stuff, if you just search on Facebook, Sacred Mama, and that's spelled M-A-M-A, you'll be able to find me over there. And that blog is still really new, so there's not a ton of content yet, but there will be a lot of content coming throughout the winter and into next year as I write my book and all that sort of stuff. So, yes.
Awesome. Excited. I can't wait to see that Sacred Mama blog. And Kimra Luna, thank you so much for joining us today. And once again, this is Dr. Gwen. Thank you, everybody. You all have a wonderful day, evening, morning, whenever you listen to this broadcast.